Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm happy to serve as your tutor friend for the self-learning education platform. In this video, we will be seeing about database management system, that is DBMS, a quick guide to this DBMS transactions. So transactions are very important part of DBMS. That particular topic will be dealt in this video. To begin with, what is the major difference between a data, an information, a database, and a DBMS? We'll just see as a quick relation between each and everything. So first starting with what is data. So data is nothing but simply a raw fact. It doesn't contain any kind of a processed information or processed details. It just gives us a representation. That's all. It's just a raw fact that is given. For example, the mark of a student, any number, image, everything will come under data. For example, if I tell 1, 2, 3 or A123, suppose as a layman we don't know what exactly A123 stand for. It can be a staff ID number, student roll number, or anything else. So data is simply a raw fact. That's all. When you come to information, information is more of a processed data. So more useful, meaningful values is given from information. So for example, as I told you, if I want to see the marks of a student, let me give it as a report card for the student so that I can easily see what are the marks for which are the subjects the student has got. So this is called as information, which is more of a processed data. It's not just raw one, it is more of a better, meaningful values which are given. Next is what is a database. Database is nothing but simply like an organized collection of these related data which are stored somewhere. It has to be basically a disk or something. For example, it may be your address book. Like if you have your mobile phone, right? Phone book we have. So those things are also a database. So which tries to give like a dictionary which has A to Z all the letters, the all the words which are being given, right? So that is also a dictionary. So more of an organized collection. It may be in a normal chronological order or a reverse chronological order as and when required. What is then a DBMS? DBMS or database management system is more specifically of a processed information all put together in one large database. Okay, so which handles storage, retrieval as well as updating of data. So it is more of a live data recording, that is called as DBMS, where as and when required we can update it, we can store it, we can also retrieve it, that is getting the processed information. Some examples of your DBMS are this Oracle, SQL, DB2, MS Access, Sybase, everything. So these are also freely accessible online tools which are available for DBMS operations. Next, let's see about what is the transaction management. Why we need to think about the transaction in DBMS. A transaction is simply something between the sender and the receiver, right? So it is a collection of operations put together into a single logical function of an application. So we require two things. We require a recovery manager and a concurrency control manager as part of this transaction. Why? Because if suppose there is a loss in the transaction or some point the transaction fails, we need to recover from it, right? For that we require a recovery manager as well as the concurrency control manager, where the repeated operations of the transaction should be stopped, but it should not be automatic, it should be manually controlled by a particular team of or a group of people who are responsible for proper transaction management to happen. So to enable this transaction management, we do have one language as part of this DBMS called as the TCL, that is nothing but your transaction control language. This is used to run any changes which are made by the data manipulation language statements, that is DML statements we call it, and this allows us to group into logical transactions. And what are the major attributes or the control points of this TCL are? We have four main things. One is called as your save point commit, second is your save point, then rollback, and then set transaction. Commit is the last successfully saved work is being done. Successfully done work, no, that is particularly transactional success means it is being saved. That is called, it has been committed. It's a proper transaction is successful means we call it as it has been committed. Save point is that the transaction rolls back to something which is identified as a transaction successful place. That is, once if it is first point is successful, second transaction is failed means it rolls back means it goes back to that particular successful one, that is called as a save point. So commit is simply a transaction is successful means it is committed. Save point means it rolls back to the first successful transaction. Then what is a rollback? Rollback is nothing but restores to the original thing since the last successful transaction. Since commit is nothing but last successful transaction, it tries to restore the database to the original phase. If suppose there is a failure now, it will restore it to the last successful one is called as rollback. Okay. Then set transaction is we can change the transaction options on our own. So it is more of user level or user control. It says isolation level or where you want to roll back. All those can be done, which is user specified and user defined as a set transaction. The last but not the least of this particular video, which covers about the properties of transaction management, that actually tells about four main properties which are very useful. It says asset properties. That is, A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, and D for durability. So these four properties are very important for a successful transaction to complete. Let's see one by one. First, atomicity. Atomicity is a term. Atomic, you would have heard of atom in chemistry, right? Similar to that. This is either in a whole as one particular thing like an atom. It has to happen in one transaction or it should either fail. It should either be successful or failure. It should not be in middle of it. For example, it should be successful means one to be given. That is the commit statement should return a value of 1. Otherwise, if it is a failure, it will return a value of 0. It should not be in between of 0.5 or anything like that. So it should not be a between value, but either to happen in all or it should fail. That is how this is happening. Then consistency is nothing but after a transaction has been completed. Consistent means it has to maintain that particular value, right? So proper, so we should say consistent behavior of a person. If you say what he or she is being the same person from the beginning when they were born, something like that. So similarly, a data should be more reliable and consistent in operation. Even after the successful completion of the transaction, it has to remain or maintain its originality, that is consistency. Then isolation. Isolation is nothing but if two transactions are going on same data, then one transaction will not disturb the other. Like the railway track, if you just stay, one railway track should not, the track one should not interfere with track two. So more of a parallel way of transaction is isolation. Last but not the least is durability, which means it has to stand long. So persistent behavior. Persistent is nothing but permanent. Permanently the data should be stored even if a transaction fails in between. If a database failure occurs, if the power is switched off or whatever it has to remain till the last moment and it should be persistent and consistent. So these are the asset properties of the transaction which are very important, and this is what I wanted to tell about the transactions in the DBMS. More such topics will be covered in the upcoming videos. Thank you for listening. Please do subscribe to my channel as well as do share it with your friends for healthy and happy learning. Thank you.